Hi, Rob Hoyton here. Thanks for joining me today on Dragon's Teeth Gaming. In a recent chat I mentioned video games, and I'm going to be doing some uploads on video games in the near future. One game that I played on the Xbox fairly recently was called Fallout. This is a post-apocalyptic survival game. You wake up, you come out of like a cryogenic sleep in a bunker. It seems you're the only person who has survived. So you have to search around a bunker, then you make your way out upstairs into the sort of post-nuclear devastation that the world has become. And up there you look for certain items, you can build a base, you interact with all types of creatures, from quite normal creatures such as dogs and other humans, through to mutated monsters that will attack you. So an excellent game. It's kind of a nice cross between a first-person shooter and a survival game. It's not just running around shooting things. As I say, you have to build your base, you have to gather your resources, and so on. So one of the guys at Bedford Gladiators, Ove, said that he had a set of Fallout rules. This is for like a tabletop skirmish game in that setting. Would anyone be interested in giving it a go? I said yes, and Ove sent me a link to the rules. You can actually download the PDF for free from Modiphius at the moment, so I'll put that link down below. So we've got the rules, we've got the figures, we've got the terrain. Let's see how the game plays out. So, Fallout, Wasteland Warfare. We have two teams, each with certain characters. Each character has a card which lists, as you can see, all the stats: strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, and so on, which of course all play a part in whatever actions you might be taking. We also have non-human characters, such as the pet dog there. And you get a card for the weapons you're carrying as well. So here we've got a hunting rifle and a baseball bat. You might notice on the weapons card there, those little hexagrams with different colours, they relate to the dice that you throw. And Ove was explaining this at the beginning. To be honest, I found it a bit overwhelming at the start, because there's several different coloured dice and each has numbers, but also some little signs on, like an empty bottle there, or a star, or a mushroom cloud. And each of these means different things. But once you get into the game, all that becomes apparent. So I'm not going to try and sort of explain all that here. Now, the way that activation works was quite nice. The player with the fewer figures on the table always goes first. And what you do first of all is put one of these ready counters beside whichever figure you choose. You can then choose to activate that figure, or you can choose to wait. So you might ready it and then activate it straight away, or you might ready the figure, wait for something else to happen, and then activate it. And this is a look at the board we were playing. You see we've got that very nice diner in the middle there. Very nice paint job by Ove. And what you'll hear now is Ove is going to be describing the scenario, and I'll let him explain some of the game as well. So sorry there's quite a bit of background noise going on. It was a busy night down at the club, but hopefully you can hear everything that he's saying. Oh, and just be warned, Ove does like to put his own sound effects in as well.
So there we are.
Okay.
So
the scenario,
4 rounds.
so it's a 4-round game.
It's a 4-round. The objective for the settlers, the post settlers, are to drag this piece of equipment over to this area and basically getting it off the board edge.
Okay.
If we do that within by the end of the 4th round, we will win. If it turns out that we don't, we will basically lose. And I think if this one has got 4 hit points or more left at the 4th turn, we will get like a partial victory, because you haven't succeeded in destroying the
So basically, these guys have got to stop that and smash it up.
Yes,
yep.
So, and smash up anything literally that comes in their way.
It's covering time.
The way it works is that any one of my settlers can try to basically push this thing along. They move within orange range of the item, they spend an action in moving it.
Okay.
They roll the skill die versus the strength rating.
Right.
If they succeed at that, they push it up to yellow distance away.
Okay.
So basically giving it a heave-ho. If they fail, it doesn't budge.
It doesn't.
Because it's a heavy piece. Yeah.
So these are the colour sticks for ranges.
These are the card sticks,
There's
yes.
no measuring, and I saw with firearms it's just basically short and long range.
Yeah, well, but for most, unless you have a pistol, that's only short.
Then that's only short, yeah.
And when you're measuring double range for firearms, let's say you have blue for starters, or you have a black for starters and a blue for, you basically just stick them together and you look. It is fairly straightforward with the dice rollings, because if you shoot any piece of terrain that interferes with your aiming, gives you a straight up -2 to your skill.
Okay.
So if you try to fire at a figure within range that you can shoot at, you can see it, but it's 2 pieces of terrain, you have a straight up -4 for starters.
-4 already.
So that is the target number. This settler here is going, it looks a bit dodgy there, and she's going to say, give it a good heave. So I'm going to activate that one. I'm going to spill no time. There's no time like the present. So I'm going to try to give it a big heave-ho. Unfortunately, the settlers have not gone to the gym, so it's got a strength of 3. So, in this instance, because I got nothing helping, I need to roll 3 or lower on this die to give it a good push. So here we are, 3 or better. It's a 7.
This is basically how your skill rolls work. If you want to push the container, which is the objective in this case, to get it off the board, then the player rolls against their strength. Most people get 2 actions in a go, so that means 2 potential goes. And if the push succeeds, then the trailer is moved the length of the yellow stick. As you can see, there's no measuring goes on. The ranges are all done by these coloured sticks, which was quite a nice mechanic, actually. It made things nice and simple. So, of course, the job of my team, who are some rather large mutant types, is to capture the container and smash it open. So on my turn, I had people moving up, taking shots at the container, but also because one of them had a big sledgehammer, his basic thing was just to charge up and start smashing the container. And the container has a certain amount of hit points. Once those hit points are used up, then it's smashed open and the settlers lose. So again, it's just using the measuring sticks to determine range. And because you have a couple of actions, it could be that you can charge and get 1 hit, or you might stand still and be able to fire off 2 shots and so on. And there are mechanics of getting extra actions as well as you go through. So as it turned out on that game, the settlers didn't get very far. To be fair, they only had 4 moves to push that big heavy container across the whole board, which was quite a job. And my guys managed to stop them. They smashed the container open, and so they won. So that was the first introductory scenario. From there, we moved on to a second scenario, and this was like a sort of rescue mission, where one character had to rescue their friend, who's being held at the center of the board, and the other character plays their captors, which is a sort of mix of Outlanders and ne'er-do-wells. And also in this one, that player had a robot as well. More about that later on. And this being the second scenario, it added in a couple of little extra rules. Again, nothing that was very complex or complicated. And by now I was getting used to how you roll the dice as well. Because quite often in games you might roll 1 dice or 3 of the same dice or something. In this, you're rolling all those different coloured dice. It's like the white dice is to determine if you hit, and then the blue dice might be to determine your damage. The green dice might be to determine some random effect, and so on. So that keeps the game nice and lively. So yeah, this robot was quite interesting. The lone character you can see here hiding behind that shed had a laser Gatling gun, which was extremely effective, but the robot did manage to close in. However, the laser Gatling did a huge amount of damage, which set off the self-destruct mode in the robot. So basically the robot exploded and took out pretty much everything in a sort of 5-inch radius, including the poor main character from the other side. So that was a sort of a win by default. We did find out later on when we checked the rules that this type of robot shouldn't actually have had that self-destruct mechanism. But you know, it's early days, we're learning the game. So there's the 2 introductory scenarios for this rule set that we managed to run in a single evening. Of course, as they're introductory, they're not bringing in the rules in at once, but this was a nice way to ease into the game. I've not gone through a lot of the mechanics because there is quite a lot involved. Having said that, the way the game is structured, you do get into them quite quickly. There's not a lot of tables to keep looking up. Those little icons on the dice, once you know what each one means, then they're very simple to apply and follow. It's been a while since I played the video game, but it did capture the feel of it from what I remember. That kind of roaming around and having wild dogs and mutants and other humans attacking you and you attacking them. It captured that very nicely. And there's a lot of room for tactics and strategies as well. Although it might seem like with all those dice, there's a lot of luck involved. You do have to think things through. And I did like that activation system as well, where you ready your character and then you can choose to activate it or not. That did give you something else to think about, another level of strategy, if you like. So, yes, overall, I really enjoyed this and look forward to playing some more. Big thanks to Ove for bringing it in and for inviting me to play. Do let me know if you've played the game or if you've got any questions. I'll do my best to answer. And in the meantime, take care in the wasteland out there, and I'll see you next time.